r/AskReddit. When did the class clown take it too far? Lit a Roman candle on our bus ride home. Cops showed up and he went right out the back door and kept running. Never came back to school. Edit. I didn't think this was gonna blow up. Edit. Thanks for the silver edit. To answer some of the questions about this kid, although he was always nice to me, he was a typical tough acting senior. Wore a leather jacket and black combat boots to school every day. If my memory serves me correctly, one of our teachers told us the cops found him hiding in his tree fort. Hi, I'm not smart. What's a Roman candle? It's a firework that is shaped like a stick and shoots out ball-shaped fireworks. It's meant to be set down and it will automatically shoot a certain amount of the sparkly balls out every few seconds. I always hold it even though you're not supposed to. It can be dangerous. In a high school classroom with a chill teacher, someone made a joke about another kid's dong being small, so that kid exposed himself in front of the whole class to prove that it was large. He got suspended. But was it though? His dong may be small, but his energy is not. Edit. I know editing a comment is super docky, but I saw all the silvers after my Enviro final, and I'm so happy. He yelled at my English teacher from across the room, "Your puns are more cancerous than girl's name." She was terminally ill with cancer and never came back to school after that day. Well, that's just awful for everyone. God, I can actually see how a high school kid would think that's appropriate too. That's just the kind of shock humor that feels funnier than it actually is at that age. But only shocks because it violates the taboo you aren't old mature enough to appreciate in the first place. Senior year, teacher wouldn't give her a hall pass to use the bathroom, which was ridiculous. Instead of taking a more conventional stand, like walking out of the room, she sat down in her desk and pissed her pants. She was suspended. I forget for how long. There were editorials back and forth in the school paper. I was on team teachers shouldn't try to control our bowels, but also maybe don't piss on the floor. Though I do appreciate your taking one for the team. My uncle did that when he was a kid. Stood on his desk, put his pants down his knees and took a piss. The teacher got a fist in the face from the father for not letting children to the toilets, and the kid got slapped for pissing into his pants. Next time, take off your pants entirely was the lesson he learned that day. Edit. He didn't pissed his pants. He pissed into his pants. He pulled down his pants and still pissed in them. He loaded up porn on someone's computer while they were in the bathroom. Teacher wasn't paying attention and the victim ended up getting suspended. That wasn't a class clown. That was a classroom hitman. Ah yes, classroom hitman. My favorite hitman game. Junior year in high school in algebra 2. The teacher was kind of a douche, so this one guy, let's call him Mike, would give him a hard time. This was a regular thing, and Mike would get kicked out of class for saying and doing some inappropriate stuff, but we all thought it was hilarious. One day, our teacher didn't show up to class. Word got around that his oldest son had died of a drug overdose and he had to take some personal time off. He didn't show back up until a week later and he looked really sullen and down. During class, Mike pulled out a can of Coca-Cola and started sipping it nonchalantly. Teacher had a strict no eating or drinking in class policy and Mike was aware of this. He told Mike to throw it away and step outside. Mike, the absolute ducking savage, says, "Look, I know you don't like Coke, but I'm sure your son did." Nobody laughed. Just silence. Some people didn't get it. The ones who did were just too shocked to say anything like me. Mike threw his drink away and walked out of the classroom while the teacher just sort of haphazardly continued his lesson, although we could tell Mike's comments ducked him up. My story is pretty similar. The teacher was one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Really upbeat and always wanted to help out. His son wound up getting bullied a lot and committed suicide. When he came back, our class clown made a really bad joke remark about how it was the teacher's fault that his son killed himself. Our teacher got up, walked over to the kid's desk and stopped. The kid tried to make another jab, but the guy pulled the kid out of his seat and started pummeling him and throwing him against anything he could see. Nobody in the class moved, just watched as it happened and saw this snarky kid sobbing, bleeding and just getting destroyed. Our teacher stopped, walked out of the room, and we never saw him again. Apparently there were a bunch of lawsuits and the kid had to go to the hospital for a bunch of wounds, but it was definitely the most intense class I've been a part of. I wouldn't even sue if I was the parent. I'd be ashamed and embarrassed my kid did that. There are buttons you just don't push. Row. This one kid thought it would be funny to snort a line of that sour powder. This was no small line, mind you. I actually think he was rubbing it off the candy. Anyways, he does his line and instantly starts screaming. His nose was gushing blood and I honestly think he popped a blood vessel in his eye. Ran out of the room and later saw an ambulance come to the school. Don't do drugs. Did you go to school in Colorado? I had the exact same thing happen to my friend. 7th grade teacher in Colorado here. My students have been snorting Tajan recently. When he ate part of the squid we were dissecting. Stomach pump for you. Chuckles. Similar story when I was in middle school. We needed to dissect a perch. We were allowed to pick our own groups. But because I didn't have any friends in the class, I got stuck with the obnoxious kids. One of them had the genius idea of putting his mouth up to the fish's anus and sucking it like a straw. He ended up throwing up. Putting his mouth up to the fish's anus and sucking it like a straw. Somewhere a Japanese businessman will pay top yen for this. My high school class clown made a joke in a dead silent classroom about boning a teacher with another teacher in the room. His situation afterwards wasn't great. Someone at my school came out with, "Have any of you ever drank your own piss?" at just that moment. That took him a while to live down. Still better than getting your stomach pumped. There was a class clown in my class and another one from the senior class at the time. They'd collaborated to throw toilet paper all over the schoolyard as a joke. I forget exactly what it was, but there was some kind of very important event going on that day and we were supposed to have a lot of visitors that afternoon. The principal was not amused. He said if they'd done that on any other day, he'd probably just let it go after making them clean it up. They got detention and one of the teachers made them personally apologize to the elderly janitor who had to clean that shit up in the dark when it was freezing cold. Edit. The janitor found the mess when he'd gotten to school that morning while it was still dark around 6 AM or so. He started cleaning it up himself. Before anyone knew who did it, the office pulled the footage from the outdoor security cameras later that morning. Because it was such a small school, those dudes were identified in about 30 seconds. LMAO. The most important part of a joke, timing. Or in this case, the most important part of a joke, timing. He farted loudly every single day in Mr. Jensen's social studies class. It got really old. Edit. This was 7th grade middle school. Edit. I lived in Minnesota at the time, in the early 90s. I teach middle school and 2 years ago I had a student that purposely farted to stink up the room. He was the only student I've had so far where I couldn't find any redeeming qualities in him. He's out there somewhere, stinking up someone's world. We had a teacher in middle school who had a wig and a glass eye. We had 3 class clowns that teamed up and at the end of the year, she left just because of their constant disruptions and bullying. I actually really liked her and always felt bad for her. Was this during the True Wizard tournament? Constant vigilance. Called our teacher's daughter, whose name is Mia Khalifa. The teacher then proceeded to search up Mia Khalifa in front of the whole class. Yeah, a teacher of mine said I don't know who that is in the most unconvincing way possible. Haha, old Gary. Well, he always used to tease this gay kid and everyone dared him to kiss him as a dare. The ducker is still running the joke today, even got married to him. Gary knows how to do the long haul when he takes things too far. Can't wait until the big joke reveal and everyone laughs. Classic Gary, doesn't know when to quit. Had a friend in high school, always would invite me to his parties. He was a popular guy on the wrestling team, and I was not, so he was always trying to hook me up with chicks. Anyways, went to a few of the parties and each were more crazy than the next. The final one he had was insane, hundreds of people. Went upstairs to check on him because he'd had a lot to drink. Past the bathroom where some guys were popping Molly, then went to his room. As I was about to knock, he opens the door, looks me dead in the eyes and says I just got ducked in the ass with the most pale and wild expression. Instantly I ask him if he's okay. A split second later he just flips his mind and expression to being the charismatic jock that he is. The other guy was another ladies' man jock on the football team. He came up to me a few days later and laughed it off like it was a joke and was like, what happened at the party stays at the party. LOL, just clowning around I guess. Both are now happily married to women. I can only imagine how they initiated that. He tried to pants the teacher. I think I've seen this porn. It was actually his step teacher. Ate a shit ton of notebook paper and ended up going home after he projectile vomited on the goddamn floor. Last week a guy in my class did the same thing. He ate some pieces of paper, like full pages, just because he could do it. His words, "We're 18 dude." When I was in 3rd grade we were all doing our thing. Coloring, reading, etc. The class clown was being really noisy and kept goofing off. We were all having fun and the class clown eventually sat down. It wasn't long before he was laying on the floor, foaming out of his mouth, shaking violently. We all laughed. It was a joke, right? Before long the teacher came rushing over to see the new joke the kid came up with. She immediately called 911 and he was rushed out of the room. He had a seizure while the whole class thought he was joking. He recovered and everything was fine. I just feel bad for the kid. Holy frick, that's terrifying to imagine. Imagine saying help, I can't breathe, and your friends are just like haha, good one. Then you pass out and shit goes down. Oh my god, that's freaky. Straight up just peed on the floor in the middle of class and convinced the teacher it was spilled water so he cleaned it up. Honestly not even class clown shit at that point. Just being a gross dong. He didn't get in nearly enough trouble. We had this one kid in our class in high school. I don't wanna call him weird, and I'm genuinely not sure if he had a disorder, but he spoke with a lisp and didn't seem to have many friends. Our interactions were few and, well, weird for lack of a better word. I don't mean the offensive weird, just the objective not normal. The only vivid memory I have of him is being 2 seats away from him being asleep in class, and hearing a little sputtering noise and seeing his desk coated in water. Kid between us goes, did you just throw up on the desk? He responds with no, it's just water. And then we just went about our day like nothing ever happened. Never wiped it up. Never questioned it. Just continued learning about whatever shit I was learning in that class. We had a girl like that. We had those tall science room stools with a gap in the middle for using as a handle. We heard a weird splashing sound and there was a bit of whispered commotion near her. Then another girl who was sat near weird girl put her hand up and said, "Miss, can you come here?" The teacher walked down the class to weird girl's desk and saw what was clearly piss all over the floor. She tried to handle it without embarrassing the girl, but obviously this was hard. Weird girl was getting annoyed at the teacher saying it's just water and refused all offers to leave the room. She sat there in her piss the whole lesson with piss all over the floor because she wouldn't clean it up when the teacher said, "Oh, it's water." Okay, just clean it up then. Another time she did the same thing and was going, "It's water," and arguing with the people who sat around her who were all saying, "No, it isn't. You've done this twice now." She was super strange. It came across more as punishing people by making them smell her piss than her having a medical issue. It was all so strange and creepy. When he yelled, "I lost my virginity to my dog," during a quiet moment in class, every head whipped around to stare in horror. This is brilliant attention-seeking behavior. Where do you go from there? I imagine you get a nice condo with a dog and adopt some puppies. AHHH. A wasp. He then proceeded to throw an entire ducking desk at it. The wasp perched on the window. Whoops. Did he get it? Legend says that the wasp is still on that window. Someone in my year at school, who wanted to be a doctor, drank a bottle of antibacterial hand wash for $5. He did it because there is nothing bad in there. His words. Needless to say, he got his stomach pumped. I'm sure he gained valuable insights into his future career. He is a podhead edit. Thank you for the silver awards. My first 3 awards. Edit 2. And a gold. That makes my 4th. This kid downed 9 ibuprofens in like 3 minutes because the teacher left the room. He managed to get a headache from it. It wasn't really funny. It was just sad. That's like 1,800 milligrams. That's a shit ton of ibuprofen. What compelled him to do that? This other kid. I was not in a good class. Although I was mostly good in this class. No one else really was. Said something like, "I have ibuprofen," and someone dared him to get high off it. I was too disappointed. Plus, by the time I caught wind he was at 4. To explain how impossible that was, it was years ago, so I don't remember the details very well. I know it was at least 5 ibuprofen, but was probably closer to 7. One time the class clown asked what the teacher's wife, another teacher, was like in bed. It was so goddamn awkward. Better than your mother is the only acceptable answer. No matter your gender or sexuality, it is the only acceptable answer. Kid, class clown, in elementary school made fun of a boy no one liked. He was kinda an a-hole. But one day the boy said his mom had a miscarriage and the other kid thought it would be a great insult later in the week to tell him something along the lines of your brother is better off dead, it's a good thing your mom had a miscarriage. Don't think we've ever rallied for this a-hole kid as hard as we did that day. Not cool. My friend's father took his own life when we were about 7 years old. A nasty boy in the class said I would kill myself too if I was your dad. It was ducking awful. When my mother died my brother was around 12. Some kid made a similar joke and got a pencil through his hand. Kid in my band class still thought yo mama jokes were funny. We came back to school for the first time after Hurricane Sandy, and the kid goes to the teacher, yo mama s, and the teacher cut him off, died in the hurricane. The kid never told another one of those jokes in that class. So did the teacher's mother die in the hurricane, or were they trying to shut him up? Teacher's mom actually died in the hurricane. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.